All right, good morning. You join us here with a cat for another Fat Cat Detective Agency case. But this time I don't have to travel anywhere. Solve my case, thanks Lola. Because the book I'm going to read is Once Upon a Crime by Fergus Craig. And it's set in my hometown, so no travel to a different location needed, but I will be travelling around Exeter. I know very little about this book. I just saw it in Waterstones, saw it was set in Exeter. I was like, sure, let's give it a go. I bought it quite a while ago. Since then, a sequel has come out, so that's a good sign. Might be a good book. However, I kind of thought it was going to be a cosy crime, but since buying it, I realised it's actually classified as humour/crime fiction. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to solve it in my usual manner. I don't know what the balance is going to be between crime and humour, but we're going to give it a go. We'll just see how it goes. There's no particular pressure on myself, although I would like to solve a case because I've been unsuccessful so far, but we'll just see how it goes. Maybe Lola will be my good luck charm. There she is. So yes, I'm not starting at my own house because I had to visit some cats this morning, give them their breakfast. That's my job. And I figured, since I have to cycle up Western Way, which is not a steep hill, but it is a long hill, and I figure at least some of this is going to be set in the city centre, I only want to do that cycle up once. So Lola's in the city centre. If I'm going to come see her, let's try and get on with cracking the mystery, or at least, get into the book and not have to go back downhill back home and then uphill again to come into the city. So that's why I'm not at home. The advantage of not being at home is I don't have to do that long cycle. Oh, and of course I have Lola for company. The disadvantage is I don't have my tripod with me. I'm trying not to show too much of my client's house, although it probably really matters, because it's my last ever visit to Lola. Hey, little Siamese. She is moving country next week. So first impressions of the book. As I told you, it's a slightly different genre than I was expecting. Second thing I noticed is, although it's set in Exeter, this is not Exeter Cathedral, which is the most famous landmark in town. It's a very distinctive cathedral style. It doesn't have a spire, it has two towers instead. So what church could that be? I mean, maybe St. David's? I'm pretty sure that has that layout. Maybe St. Thomas? I've never actually been in any of these churches, so I could be wrong. The title, Once Upon a Crime, I'm assuming that kind of rhyming joke means it's not going to be a serious thriller crime story. Interestingly, and I only realised this after I bought the book, all the little blurbs or quotes, I'm pretty sure none of them are authors. I think they're all comedians. Maybe Mark Billingham, I don't recognise his name, but Al Murray, Aisling B, Dara O'Brien, Chris Brookmeyer, they're all going on about how funny the book is, rather than saying it's a good crime story. Although Mark Billingham does say Roger LeCarre is a crime-solving comedy god, capital letters. So he's the only one who mentions crime. Okay. Exeter, a city in decline, South Devon's capital of crime. Really? Sure. Detective Roger LeCarre, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, a man on a quest to rid the world of crime, starting with Devon and Cornwall and then working outwards so he can concentrate on his watercolours. LeCarre runs 10 kilometres a day but probably burns more calories, shaking his head at what has become of his city. Now Exeter is set to become the UK capital of culture, and the ambitious Lord Mayor wants to turn things around. But when a young man's dead body is found in the centre of town, things get murky. Detective Roger LeCarre is a character never seen before in modern fiction. A tough but troubled detective with a drink problem and a marriage in crisis. Can he find out who killed the young man, save the city, and change his energy provider before the new expensive tariff kicks in? Crime will never be the same. Okay, so satire? Somewhat like sarcastic humour? Let's have a look. Okay, interesting, the author doesn't live in Exeter. I just kind of assumed he did. His little, like, bio bit at the front says he lives 198 miles east of Exeter. London? I'm assuming London. I don't know how far it is to London. 4 hours on the slow train, 2.5 hours on the fast. Dedicated to the law-abiding citizens of Devon and Cornwall. Thanks. I'll just read you the prologue because it's super short. A body. In central Exeter, right there in the square. Nothing unusual about that. Exeter city centre was full of bodies, some on their way to work. Others were headed to W.H. Smith to buy a lifestyle magazine. Some were just passing through, taking a moment to enjoy the hustle and bustle of Devon's cathedral metropolis. But his body was different to all the other bodies, different in one specific way. This body was dead. Dum dum dum. Adding my own music. Okay, so might be going to Bedford Square by the sounds of it. Can you hear Lola scratching away? Is that good, Lola? Do you like the prologue? Is it good setting the scene drama for you? Okay, so it actually starts in a cemetery. Because it says, Detective Roger LeCarre stared at the gravestone with his piercing blue eyes. Yeah, I'm definitely getting the sense that this is going to be melodramatic. Taking the piss out of the genre a bit, maybe? We'll see. Okay, it's got a strange style of writing. I'll give you an example. Hi. Hi, baby. Are you on camera? Oh, just a little head. It hadn't taken LeCarre long to find Lamb's killer, Scott Drink, just a kid caught up in the never-ending gang war between two counties that straddled the River Tamar. A river that, try as it might, could never keep the peace because it was just a body of water, just a stretch of H2O, not enough to hold back centuries of grudge and counter-grudge. I don't think I've ever encountered a writing style quite like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just, how do I describe it, Lola? Like a specific type of exaggerated humour? Are you biting my bookmark? I've never seen you bite anything before. Is it because it's new? You actually, yeah, your tooth pierced that. Lola, no, thank you. Keep going. Okay, so it's been quite location specific. Like it says, they busted open a crack house in Bedford, chased a subject down the A377 towards Barnstable, setting the world right in the Crown and Goose. I don't know where the Crown and Goose is, but the others are towns. Oh yeah, and then he takes his wife Carrie for a meal at ZZ's on Gandy Street. More weird writing. Like he doesn't say that his phone rang on that big important night. He says his Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge had rung. It's just weird, weirdly specific, almost pedantic. Is that what? LeCarre was married to the Force and Carrie knew it. I mean, he was married to her too. In a legal sense, he wasn't married to the Force at all. A police force is an organisation and you can't marry an organisation. You could marry every member of an organisation, but that would be polygamy, which is illegal under UK law, and it was LeCarre's job to uphold the law. So he wouldn't be doing that, and he didn't want to anyway. It would be completely impractical and not even desirable. Okay, so he's taken the cliche of a police officer married to the Force and stretched it out into an entire paragraph. So it starts with, there, LeCarre was married to the Force. It goes all the way down there. Can you even see it? Yeah. To, LeCarre was married to the Force and Carrie was destined always to play second fiddle. Okay. His stubble gently blowing. Okay, that is a bit funny. I mean, it's weird. It's still weird, but it's at least funnier. This is such a... The city was in the midst of a crime wave, the likes of which it had never seen, not since at least 2014 anyway. Crime was like a virus spreading through the streets. Everywhere you looked, there was crime. Out of the corner of his eye right now, LeCarre could literally see a woman being mugged, but this was his annual moment with Lamb, that's his dead partner. And he'd vowed never to let anything get in the way of it, so he let the mugging pass. She'd probably be able to get everything back on her insurance. That's if she was smart enough to get an all-inclusive contents insurance. With the range of price comparison websites available to the consumer these days, there really wasn't any excuse for not getting good cover. Okay, so they found the body. He's just been called to be told, and it's St Pancras Church, which is still not this church on this cover. God, he really likes describing electronics or phones in weird detail. LeCarre put his Huawei P30 Pro 256GB smartphone back into his jacket pocket, the slickly designed curved screen nestling against his garment's lining. Okay, there's one funny bit. He poured mint sauce onto the lamb's grave. Okay, but that's the first chapter done. I won't read you every weird thing that I come across because it seems like there might be quite a lot. First impressions are, I mean, it's not absurdly funny and clever so far. It's a strange sense of humour. Maybe not quite my sense of humour. I laughed a couple of times. There's just a weird way of writing the descriptions. Like overly specific, super pedantically specific. Definitely satire for the genre. Okay. Am I off to St Pancras Church? Hi! Are we off to the church? Do I have to leave you? I think St Pancras is the one that's in the Guildhall. Oh, baby girl, you're gonna get comfy just when I need to get up and leave. You want to smooch the book? You're gonna bite my bookmark again? Okay. Oh, you're gonna sit down. Maybe I'll come back here later, Lola, if they don't get more specific about locations. Here we go. Look at you. You look so pretty. Yeah. Okay, so we're off to the Guildhall. Oh, sorry. One thing that definitely was illegal was murder, and by the sounds of it, there'd been one in front of the Guildhall shopping centre. Time to go to work. He switched off Radio X and got out of the car, the silky tones of 10cc still ringing in his handsome ears. He looked to his right, up the gentle incline towards the John Lewis department store. Behind him was Cathedral Green. To his left, the way sloped down towards the River Exe, where amateur rowers would be displaying their skills. A quiet Sunday morning. Hey, I got the day of the week right. It is not the morning, 11:45, but it is Sunday. If Saturday night in Exeter was about hedonism, then Sunday morning was about redemption. Just off the high street stood the tiny St Pancras Church in a small, secluded square surrounded by the Guildhall shopping centre. LeCarre wound his way through a narrow side street. Was there anywhere on earth in which the ancient and the new sat together in such proximity? The 13th century church amongst dynamic capitalist retail temples such as F. Hines, Claire's, and the Inspired Rooms furniture store. I don't think those shops are there anymore. When was this written? 2021. St Pancras Church, a modest stone structure, seemed almost embarrassed by the excesses of the modern age. Between the church and W. H. Smith, there was a series of large steps where shoppers could sit and rest with an exotic burger from one of the outdoor food stalls. On a busy Saturday afternoon, children would run up and down them mindlessly. Did they ever stop to think about St Pancras of Rome, beheaded in AD 304 at the age of 14 for his faith? Probably not. Too busy pestering their parents for something from the nearby branch of game. What had happened the night before was no game, unless you thought murder was a game, which it wasn't. Okay, let's go. Wearing a trench coat today to help me with my detective skills. I was planning on getting lunch at the food market that they mentioned at the Guildhall, but I realised I didn't have any money, so I've come into work where I can hang out without having to pay money. So I'm on to chapter 4. I'll be honest with you, I'm not gelling with the humour. I kind of assume this is more like dad humour, which honestly, if it was just puns, I'd be fine with. But I don't know how to describe it. It's like pedantic and weird, and the way it describes people is often insulting. Everything apart from my main character is described in like weirdly handsome specifics. Dedicating a page and a half to describing his car is funny. I don't find his inner thoughts funny. I don't find the descriptions of the rough streets of Exeter funny. Like, it's just yeah, I don't think this is written for me. In terms of the actual crime, so the dead body was found. It was a young man found by the entrance of St. Pancras Church. The detective has done a kind of preliminary look over the body. He was stabbed to the abdomen and bled out. He was wearing black Nike trainers, jeans, and a green jacket. The green is supposedly a symbol of like alliance to the gangs of Devon or something, because the flag of Devon is green on it. And it's going back to this like supposed rivalry between Devon and Cornwall and this like gang warfare kind of thing, which is pretty ridiculous, but again, like I think it's meant to be funny in its ridiculousness. Honestly, the only thing Devon and Cornwall fight over is it's about cream teas, and whether when you have your scone, do you go cream and then jam, or jam and then cream? That's what the big disagreement is. They haven't got any forensics back or anything like that. They've got his name, Charlie Fade. I don't know if the names are meant to be funny or significant or something, but anyway. And then LeCarre's partner, detective partner, recognised the victim's name as being a member of a drug gang. And so that's kind of got involved in it now and thought to be the motive for the crime. LeCarre had a couple of his own ideas and motives, but they were, oh God, they're so stupid. Like, are they meant to be funny? One was, so he noticed that the victim's right sneaker was more worn down than the left, and so he was like, oh, maybe he was injured playing football and has been limping and been unable to play in the team, but now he's recovered and he's ready to go back to playing football, but whoever substituted him for those weeks doesn't want him to come back and play on the amateur football, and so murdered him so that he wouldn't have to give up a spot on the team. And the other idea was, because he was wearing jeans, that said to LeCarre that he wasn't intending to going into a nightclub, and so therefore the only other thing a young man could be doing in town on Saturday night is going to pubs and drinking real ale, and he must be a fan of real ale. I mean, he drank too much and he was with friends and they got into an argument and the friend stabbed him in the guts. But that was all before he knew about the drugs and the gang. So yeah, that's what I mean about his inner thoughts, being like, am I meant to find that funny that he jumps to such conclusions? Is it meant to be kind of like a mockery of Sherlock Holmes, and like who takes, you know, one tiny detail of what somebody's wearing and then extrapolates the answer? I assume that's what the writer was intending. Wrong type of humour for me. It's interesting that they've got the drugs kind of angle involved, because in terms of crime in the southwest, that is by far the biggest problem. There's a system in England called county lines, which is a problem through all the counties. It's basically trafficking of narcotics from the big metropolitan areas into the smaller towns and cities in the counties, and the lines are kind of the lines of transport, and it pretty, as far as I'm aware, pretty much entirely relies on taking advantage of vulnerable young children who've been like excluded from school and come from, you know, poorer families, and so are more susceptible to being offered lots of money and having the time to like cycle. There's a lot to do with bikes and cycling, and that's why a lot of bikes get stolen in Exeter, is to sell for the drug traffic. I don't really understand, but also to use to cycle between all these places. Apparently my bike is pretty immune from being stolen because it's a girl's bike, and no drug trafficking criminal would want to be seen dead on a girl's bike. Anyway, so that seems to be the new actual serious motive for the murder. It's weird that they take something that is genuinely a real problem and make light of it. Which I guess you could say with all murder mystery books, like murder is a real problem, so Agatha Christie writing about it is making light of it, maybe. But it's, okay, so I thought this would be more in a cozy crime style. It's not. But it's also not a thriller, so it's very easy reading. I say that for it. So I'm at 32 pages in, 257 pages total. I still don't know what this church is. Yeah, so you know, I'm not exactly enjoying it, but it is easy reading. There's nothing to solve so far. They've just found the body. What's his face? LeCarre is going to interview the mother of the victim. They haven't said where she actually is though. Great. He's met a new female character and is immediately describing her breasts. Melanie Fade walked her attractive body to a chair and placed her shapely posterior on the upholstery. Yeah, this is dad humour, man humour, like, I don't know. Oh my god. I'm sorry to read this out to you, but you have to hear what I'm reading. A single tear rolled Melanie's face. I feel like I should say rolled down. LeCarre followed it with his eyes as it fell off her face and landed on one of her breasts. I can't get over the way everything is so weirdly described. Why is everything described like this? Do they need an editor, or is this meant to be funny? Oh god. I've just read the next line. There's a sex scene. Great. This is not going to be handled well. Oh god. Okay. I don't know if this is meant to be funny, but it says her head swirled round in a clockwise direction, just like the spoon in the tea, the one from earlier on. Her head swirled round in a clockwise direction. Is she an owl? Oh, I'm only laughing because it's so terrible. For a woman who just heard her son was dead, she was having a terrific time. Okay, at least the sex scene was only a page and a half. Okay, new location mentioned. Filled with forebodings of darker times to come, the moon shone down on Rougemont Castle, a 1,000-year-old monument to Exeter's troubled history and a premier hospitality venue. So he's going to an event? Yeah, the castle's ballroom. In terms of me going to the castle, you can't access the part that he's in. It's the more modern part of the castle. It's a function centre. Could probably go to an older part though, some of the ruins. Can you hear the police sirens in the background? It might be a bit too faint for you, but it is appropriate for my police book. Okay, so here we are. Here are the ruins of Rougemont Castle. Just going to take you up to the modern bit so you can see what he's talking about. So that is the modern bit. It's privately owned and is used for functions. Hoping to get some lunch at the library cafe, but it's closed because it's Sunday, so I have to find somewhere else. But let's just do a bit more reading before I head off again. God, this guy is such a dick. Like, I know he's meant to be, but also like the way he's talking about his wife. Truth be told, Roger was never exactly clear on what Carrie did for a living. He knew it was something to do with computers. Or was it? It was definitely an office job. The thing was, when you had a mind as large and active as Roger LeCarre's, it was very hard to concentrate on trivial things like whatever it was the wife did for a living. Actually, maybe it wasn't in an office, come to think of it. It was just that every day Roger LeCarre dealt with crime scenes, car crashes, or matters of life and death. What Carrie did, whatever that was, just couldn't compete with Roger's job in terms of its importance. "What do you do?" Beverly Chang asked Carrie. "I'm a surgeon." LeCarre didn't hear. His attention was drawn to the stage. Just like, is that meant to be funny? Like a man being so out of touch with his partner and like not giving a shit about their life and their job and having no respect for them? Like, is that meant to be funny? Really? Back at Lola's house, partially to have lunch and partially to do some more reading. Reading in the park was lovely, but vlogging was not. Or I hope the audio picked up what I was saying in those previous clips. But also when a guy sat down on the bench next to me, I was like, no, I'm not going to stop even attempting to whisper at the camera now. In terms of the crime story, basically nothing has happened. I'm now on chapter... What chapter am I on, Lols? Start of chapter 7. No, you can't eat my sandwich. He's gone to talk to the mum and just ended up shagging her, and then he's now found... He went to an awards night dinner and got Exeter Person of the Year award for... God knows. The only funny thing that happened in that chapter was the Lord Mayor announced they were going to build a Ferris wheel to celebrate Exeter being the capital of culture for that year. And it said, I can't remember the exact line. I can't be bothered finding it. It wasn't that funny, but it basically said, construction will start this Saturday and the first people will be able to ride it this coming Friday. And then so that was only funny because apparently we've entered the realms of urban fantasy that you can build a Ferris wheel in a week, or less than a week. You know, that's probably going to come into the motive of the crime somewhere, because why else mention it? Other than that, LeCarre has now found his partner in bed with his wife. And they've been having an affair for 6 months and he didn't realise because he's completed it. I mean, essentially, yeah. God, he's so gross. It's the only way I can describe him. He's meant to be this like super detective and super attractive, but he's just gross. The way he thinks about people, the way he talks about people, his actions, like, just ugh. He has moved location now down to the river, to the True Weirs suspension bridge. I'm not going to bother going down there. I don't think he'll stay in that place long. Hopefully he'll move to a nicer part of the river, and then I can cycle down to the quay. I think I'm getting the hang of this book, which is to say, it's not funny, it's not well written, I just have to let my eyes kind of skim over it and let the story flow over me, because on page 76 they're now finally going to do some more detective work. It's not even really about the crime, but the majority of the book hasn't even really been about the crime. They're going to a pathologist. He's got a new detective partner thing. He was absolutely horrible to his new partner, just so rude and dismissive, and oh God, he's just an absolute dickhead. Probably a good thing my channel's not monetized, so I can say stuff like that. I just have to let the writing just ignore it, basically. Try and keep up the limited plot, because it still says stupid stuff like the body lay on the slab as if it was dead, because it was, and this was a morgue. Just, all these comedians said this book would be funny. Is that funny? Is that somebody's humour? I only assume it's, yeah, dad humour. Do you find it funny, Lola? The pathologist says, I've analysed the body using science. Well, he's just compared narcotics to Dyson vacuum cleaners. I'm always tempted to have my dad read this and see if he finds it funnier than I do. Am I right in my theory that it's old man humour? Okay, we've got some actual crime information. He was stabbed with something larger than a samurai sword, about the size of a chainsaw. So weird, so weird. And he has the words Semper Fidelis carved on his chest. None of the detectives or the pathologists know what that means, even the one who's supposedly the brainy one. It means always loyal, but they're going to go find that out. The brainy one is trying to look up what the Latin means, and Roger just smacks the phone out of his hand. Oh, sorry, not just a phone, a 64 gigabyte iPhone Pro. Why do they do this? Why do they specify the specific make and model of every electronic thing that these guys come across? It's really winding me up. I don't know why I find it so annoying. I can't explain why I find this so irritating. LeCarre parked outside Exeter CCTV headquarters using Kia Smart Park Assist. Just let it wash over me. Just let it wash over me. Ignore it. It's just, this scene is so stupid. He's gone to a corner store to buy a soft drink, and he's seen that the shopkeeper has put a multi-pack of drinks in the fridge individually. You know, they've got the thing not to be sold separately. Now he's attacked the shopkeeper for breaking the law. I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't reading this for the channel and trying to solve a crime and all that, I would have DNF'd this. It's just so irritating the way it's written. Oh my god. This isn't even tea, because this isn't my house. I can't just steal the milk. Not that there is any milk. Maybe I should move on to my friend's house. I'm also looking after the cat for them. They might have milk. And I can have a nice calming cup of tea, because this is so irritating. I'm reading this really slowly just because I keep stopping. I have to force myself to read on. Some on the force would have thought that just by stepping into the estate, LeCarre was putting his life in danger. As a tax-paying citizen with a respect for the law and a fully operational nectar card, he was entering enemy's territory. He was outside the green zone now. Cars with their road tax expired, loft conversions that clearly didn't meet Exeter City Council planning guidelines. Everywhere you looked, there was crime. I'm just skim reading. I can't stand this style. So they have finally used that key detective tool, Google, to find out that Semper Fidelis means always faithful, is how they've translated it. And LeCarre is amazed by the power of Google. Always faithful. LeCarre let the words stew in his mind like a chicken casserole in his slow cooker. Faithful to what? Faithful to what? And he's visited the drug lord. As is often the case with women, she wasn't done talking. I know this character's meant to be an old-fashioned, stupid, tough old copper. But do we have to be inside this guy's head? Jesus. Oh god, I think there might be another sex scene coming, or something. His boss has described him as, you have the intelligence of a dolphin, the killer instinct of a lion, the power of a rhino, and yet somehow you're all man. Ugh. These are the only things I'm laughing at, is how bad the dialogue is and the descriptions, and it's just, ugh. Good lord. Yeah. Yeah, here it comes. He's moving her breasts around in a clockwise direction. The anatomy of some of these women. I don't need to know the speed of his thrusting. He's been looking at her bank statements whilst going at it. And in the final line of the scene, LeCarre made a deposit of his own. God. I only laugh because otherwise I'll throw up. He's now received an anonymous tip to meet him, requesting to meet him at the top of John Lewis, the cafe that overlooks the city. I'll probably go there in a bit, but you can hear the delights of that description now. It was like Roger LeCarre was a man made of metal, and the world's largest magnet was pulling him in, dragging him to his destination, sucking him towards the truth, taking him to the cafe at the top of John Lewis. He stood in front of the John Lewis facade and looked at his watch because he wanted to know the time. 15 minutes early. He probably could have just walked. Perhaps now would be a good time to pop into Ryman's and stock up on stationery. No. Keep your head in the game, he told himself. John Lewis sat at the top of the gentle hill that was Exeter High Street, a symbol of the city's status. The only John Lewis in the whole of Devon and Cornwall. This book is a bit outdated. Ryman's is at the other end of town from John Lewis, but also it says, looking down the high street, LeCarre could see 2 branches of Waterstones, 2 on the same street. Sometimes LeCarre had to remind himself that although he spent his days and nights facing the city's darker side, Exeter still had a lot to be proud of. There aren't 2 Waterstones anymore. It was ridiculous that there were 2 on one street. Oh, okay. It's actually specified where this ridiculously big Ferris wheel is going to be built. So, Streamers, the famous party store across the street from John Lewis, where every Exonian bought their balloons, had just been demolished. That spot had been chosen as the site of the great Rufus Scallion Exeter wheel. LeCarre was about to turn and enter the revolving doors. John Lewis doesn't have revolving doors. It's the slidey ones. I don't know why I'm so annoyed by these details being wrong. It's just that the whole descriptions of things are so ridiculously pedantic and detailed. Why not get something like that right? Okay, there's been another death. The person he was due to meet in the cafe has just fallen. Ooh, the plot thickens. Some actual crime is happening. Some actual clues. The new dead guy, he worked for Exeter City Council. He worked for the mayor. The new detective partner knows him from antenatal class. This does mean I don't have to go up to the John Lewis Cafe now because LeCarre didn't actually go there. He went as far as the doors. Are they going to New York? Just, okay, so sure, whatever. Now the mayor is getting involved because the second murder victim worked for him. And, you know, he's going on about his Ferris wheel. And it seems that Sebastian Twine, the second murder victim, was in New York. I'm definitely not going that committed to the bit. Okay. Start chapter 16, page 142. The Boeing 777 took its first flight in 1994. Tonight, it would take its most important, Exeter Airport to JFK. Is this absurdist humour? Is that why I'm not getting it? I really don't like absurdism. And the thought that there are direct flights from Exeter to JFK is absurd. But do people really find that funny? They're meeting some drug lord in New York. It's just getting really boring now. Why do I have to wade through paragraphs of these men just in like weird accents written out and just that over explaining style, but in a conversation that all of them are doing. It's not just, you know, Roger's quirky style. It's Chapter 20, page 169. How many pages did I say there were? It's about 260, so less than 100 pages to go. Ooh. More descriptions of his naked body as he gets it on with women. Why are there 3 and counting sex scenes in a book that's supposed to be about crime and supposed to be funny and is only 260-ish pages long? Why is this scene in the book? She doesn't have a name. She's never going to turn up again, according to the writer. Why does he put these scenes in? Other than to show what a gross man the detective is? They've mentioned a specific place, but I think it might be fictional or it's just like a random road. Quaverley Street. Let's have a look. He's gone to see the big drug dealer again, and the guy has said that the answers to what he's looking for are at Quaverley Street. No Quaverley. God. He's at a crack den and has found his daughter there. My God, what is going on with this story? At least it's getting more dramatic now. There's actual problems and I don't know, like less weird sex scenes, please. Oh, Semper Fidelis is apparently the city motto. I didn't know that. I knew I'd seen it somewhere. Definitely implicating the mayor then, with it being the city motto. Don't know why he would have. I mean, exactly. Why would he have killed Charlie Fade? I mean, he's trying to eradicate crime in the city generally because he wants it to, you know, be a great city and everyone to go up on his Ferris wheel and see, you know, set their heights on higher things and not have to deal with the grubbiness of the world. That doesn't explain why he would kill a like foot soldier of the problem rather than the main guy. Donkey Malone is the name of the drug dealer, the boss guy. Okay, another death. The detective's wife has been shot. This is getting I don't know, it's a weirdly convoluted story whilst also the book doing lots of other stuff, like all the sex scenes and the trip to New York. And now he's taken drugs. Great, yeah, makes total sense. Chapter 25, page 202. So about 60-ish pages to go. I can do this. And now he's found an unexploded bomb. World War II bomb. Sure. And he's going to defuse it himself rather than letting the bomb team do it. Of course he is. Oh, apparently he's cracked the case. Whilst in the process of defusing a bomb, he was thinking about a man was nature, an unpredictable beast, vulnerable to base desires. Roger LeCarre himself was testament to that. Floods still happened. However much we try to control nature, sometimes it defeats us. And then he has his moment of figuring it out. Yes, Lola, he's cracked the case. I haven't. But I'm not defusing a bomb. So maybe that's the key component. Stress and considering how nature will always beat man. I'm glad you like the book. Oh, claws. Little fluff girl. You need brushing. You're shedding so much. Look at that paw. Are you holding your paw out? Do you know who killed all those people? Me. I mean, I think it's several guilty peoples working together. Probably involving the mayor, right? Come on, Lola, we're almost at the end. We can do this. He's about to defuse a bomb with his teeth, because of course he is. So the only fairly subtle clue we've had is that Charlie Fade had eaten KFC or some kind of, fried chicken pretty soon before his murder. And when the detectives went to the office of the mayor, he was eating fried chicken. So, would Charlie have been working with the mayor on something? Maybe to bring down Donkey Malone? Then Charlie blabbed or talked too much. So I don't know what he would have been stabbed with. I feel like this is going to be some big, important, jokey thing, and like what he was stabbed with. Bigger than a samurai sword. Kind of like a chainsaw, but not turned on, just like straight in and out. Are there any of the mayor's like ceremonial stuff that fits that description? He's already mentioned the mayor wears his important robes the whole time. The monarch has ceremonial weapons, but I don't know if the mayor does. Let's have a look. Exeter Mayor, ceremonial. Not particularly, can't see any weapons that look of that kind of style. Or any weapons at all. Lots of bling and big medallion things. Or maybe a staff with the, you know, that thingamajig on the top. Ceremonial mace. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, don't know. Anyway, let's carry on. He's diffusing a bomb with his teeth. Of course, why am I stopping to think about the overall crime? Okay, we're at another cat house. Just gave him his afternoon treat. Set him all up for dinner. It's now 4:20 and I'm on page 222. So in the home stretch, LeCarre has ideas about who'd done it. In fact, he's fairly certain he's made peace with his detective partner so that they can go and solve the crime together. Making peace involved staring at each other for 40 minutes in a pub and then apologising for 20 seconds. And apparently that's how real men work through their problems. In terms of, me placing a guess as to who done it, I don't have any sensible guesses. Probably something to do with the mayor. Maybe he's trying to fund his Ferris wheel through drug trafficking and he's trying to, either work with Donkey Malone or take it over from him, and so he's trying to get Charlie Fade on his team of dealing drugs rather than, to take him away from Donkey's team. Don't know the murder weapon still. Might be ceremonial mace. That's all I can find in terms of linking to the mayor. And then I think maybe Sebastian, the second victim, because he works for the mayor, so maybe that was his connection as well. He was involved in that side of things. We only have the mayor's word for it that Sebastian was a drug addict. There's no evidence to that apart from he went to New York to make some deal with the New York drug baron, but possibly on behalf of the mayor rather than actually for his own use. I don't know, I guess we'll find out, won't we? In about 40 pages. LeCarre thinks that the sniper wasn't aiming at his wife, Carrie, that they were aiming at him because he's, closing on the truth and they were trying to silence him. It's a pretty bad sniper to hit his wife instead of him, but don't know what her involvement in it all could be. I wonder why this guy, Fergus Craig, chose Exeter if it's not where he's from or where he lives. Was he going along with his satire approach of, if he wanted, grim crime, he decided to set his story in the most genteel place he could think of. It's really weird. The whole book is really weird. This is so tedious. This denouement. He's up on stage and he's saying it's the mayor. The mayor was working with the drug lord and to set up an international supply of this drug they've been talking about the whole time, and that's how they're funding the stuff in Exeter, the council improvements. He's talking about some other stuff that hasn't been mentioned so far, like a new Pelican Crossing, a statue of Chris Martin, an adventure playground, and I think the Ferris wheel is going to be added to that list of things that are being funded through it all. Yep, as I said, he sent Sebastian to New York to set up the trade. And then he even says, you see, Scallion would have you believe that Twine was just a junkie, another lost soul, but Twine was a very together young man. Sure, he liked indie music and poetry slams, but he didn't like taking drugs. Okay, so he stabbed him with a giant sword. Doesn't say where he got it from yet, but, yeah. Ooh, they're dragging a dead body on stage. Still no mention of where the sword has come from. It's just stabbed a corpse on stage to prove that it was the mayor who murdered the guy. It's the sword fits in the wound. Ugh. The mayor's fallen off the Ferris wheel because of a fist fight on top of the capsules. Please let this be the last chapter. 29. Ugh, why? There's another sex scene. What are we up to now? 4? And this time with his wife, at least. But, you know, she's just woken up from a coma. So, of course, that's... I don't understand this humour. Like, I know it's supposed to be funny to someone that a woman would wake up from a coma and immediately ask her husband for sex, but okay, it's over. Phew. Even in the acknowledgements, he refers to it as an absurd book. Oh, and grotesquely detailed sex scenes. Yeah, it's good that he's self-aware. Okay, good. Done. I feel like I need to clean my mind. Well, what do you rate a book like that? I mean, I didn't like it, but also I am definitely not the target market. Do people genuinely laugh at this? Like, not in the way that I was laughing at the sex scenes and horror. Presumably people find this funny. All these comedians lied to me. It is not so funny. It is not funny and gripping, or tea-spittingly hilarious, or exceptionally funny. Oh my god. I feel like I need a long drink. But at least I figured out who done it. Even if it was the stupidest crime book I've read in a while. Why was this book written? Still don't know what that church is. Oh, God. Can't believe that was the first book that I successfully solved in the Fat Cat Detective Agency. I'm not going to read the sequel. I'll just make that clear now. I regret reading that one. I don't even know who I would recommend it to. People who like absurdism. People who like lame jokes. Dad humour, but like not puns particularly, which I always associate with dad humour, but just like gross or crass or pedantic, or... It's not technically the worst book I've ever read, I don't think, just because, well, it was offensive, but like obviously so. It was trying to be offensive. You coming up? You coming up to say hi? Maybe a generous 2 stars? It doesn't really matter. It's over. Thank you for joining me. Sorry I put you through this. Hopefully you found it entertaining. I was miserable and had a terrible time. But some people like to watch that, don't they? Oh, I need to have a strong cup of tea now and read something that's actually pleasant. Goodbye. Thanks for joining me.